We are back for our third installment of this thing that we're doing, the thing with no name, the thing in the janitorial business, cleaning business, disinfecting world that we're in today. And we were lucky enough to be joined by Garth Sellers, a friend of mine for probably 10 years. Garth works with Honda in the Los Angeles area. We're excited to have him. Garth, introduction. Who are you? What do you do? How long have you been there?
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Actually, I've been with Honda and working in facilities for about 35 years. And it's been a long time, and it's been an interesting 35 years.
I'm sure.
I'm going to, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be retiring here pretty soon, so leave the reins to somebody else. But I'm responsible for all the facilities for American Honda and have been that way most of the 35 years.
Wow. I mean, I'm 44. So you started, I was just a little kid when you started. So I'm sure you know a few more things about facilities than I do. I'm sure there's.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you said, because usually my secretary says, hey, you worked at Honda before I was born. So,
Well,
that makes you feel real well.
yeah, but it's like, you go through these things where you like, I talk to Mario about it all the time. I'm like, I forgot half the stuff that I'm trying to even that you're learning about, that we're trying to teach you. I forgot that I even knew it. You go through
Right.
these things.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And obviously this time has to be, the most challenging of all those years. That I'm sure there's been a lot of ups and downs over the years, but this one must be the most interesting that you're going through right now.
Well, facilities, and one of the reasons I enjoy it so much is because it is always changing. And just when you think you know it all and you've got it all under control, something else comes up. So it keeps life interesting.
In your experience, just calling back on that, has there ever been a time that even came close to what we're experiencing now with COVID-19 and the steps you've had to take for American Honda?
Actually, there has been. And whether you remember it or not, but back in 2006, when we experienced the bird flu, and that was a big thing. That was a pandemic. And the only difference with that is that we had more time to prepare. Where in this particular instance, it came on so quickly that we just had to, make changes and do things that we haven't done in the past and do it very quickly. And as time goes on, you listen to the CDC and the WHO and other government agencies trying to figure out, what's right, what's wrong, and what's it going to be like tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we were talking to Joe Archie. He mentioned the bird flu and them having some experience with that too. That's interesting. Have you have you carried things over that you learned in 2006 that you're now implementing today? Has there been some best practices or something that you've learned from back then?
Well, there has been some, but I don't think the bird flu got to the point where we are today. And it was like a pre-storm to this one. And it was a lot less of we almost made it more than it needed to be. And I mean, we had a full manual and the whole works. This time we didn't have time for that. So we just did the best we could.
Yeah.
And at this point, like I said, everything's changing so rapidly. It's just really interesting and challenging to figure out what to do.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, in all industries, they're all so affected and they are changing so rapidly. I guess before we go a little bit further, can you tell us about the facilities that you oversee? What's it look like at Honda? What do you deal with?
Well, our corporate headquarters is on 101 acres, and we've got about 2 million square feet. And it varies anything from office spaces to warehouse to shops. We have a recreation center that, of course, is closed. We just have a variety of buildings and variety of occupants within the buildings.
Yeah, and like you say, the workout facilities closed, the fitness center is closed, and having all those different types of environments, I'm sure you have to implement sort of different protocols for each. Did you guys close down? Is the facility closed down right now, or where are you guys at in that?
No, Honda's always been considered an essential business. And I think the reason they've done that is because, for example, all the doctors, all the nurses, so on and so forth, have to get to work.
Right.
And, luckily, a lot of them drive Hondas. And so the dealers have to stay open to support them, and we have to stay open to support the dealers. So it's a snowball effect type thing, but because of it, we never did close.
Sorry, go ahead, Martin.
No, I wanted to ask, because it's such a big property. Is there at any point, I know Honda's considered an essential business, but other aspects of the property itself, did you have to take different precautions there? Did any portion of the properties have to close down instead of maybe the parts not that are considered essential?
Well, there was, we have, like in the offices, the sales force, let's say, they don't need to be in the office. So a lot of people, probably the majority of the people, are working from home. But you've got like warehouse workers that have to pick orders and ship to the dealers. You have the call center that has to be open to support both the customers and the dealers. So those are, some of the businesses on site that have remained open and operating the whole time. And so we have to treat them, how do we protect the people that are working there? And that's our essential requirement. Other floors on the building, let's say, are all salespeople or whatever it might be, that it's not that necessary.
So what is the process today that is in place? So you've got, I'm assuming there's masks, maybe there's temperature taken. What processes are you doing right now?
Right now, what we have is there's 3 entrances to the campus, and all 3 entrances are manned by security, and everybody's temperature is taken before they come on the campus. There is a mandate for the company that everybody must wear a mask while they're in the buildings, and that we're doing cleanings, high touch cleaning every 2 hours for the whole campus, which has been a challenge in itself. And then, of course, we're doing our evening cleanings and just using, different chemicals and different processes to keep everything as clean as possible. And then we have the hand sanitizers throughout the complex, this type of thing.
So with the high touch cleanings, I'm sure there are complexities with that, knowing how spread out you are, where everybody is, because even if you're not running at 100% capacity, if people get to go throughout the facility wherever they want, unless you have floors shut down or areas shut down, I would imagine you need to really hit a lot of it.
We do. It's, between elevators, doorknobs, restrooms, just pretty much anything you can think of that people can touch has to be cleaned on a regular basis. And so that's, we have an A&A maintenance came through and brought the people in to do that for us, trained them, and then brought them in and brought the proper chemicals and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And if we've had situations that, we've had let's say a case where somebody knows somebody that had the COVID-19, that, they've been exposed. So we have to do special cleanings in those areas.
Shut it down, do the whole deep disinfecting, the floor to
Yeah.
ceiling type deal.
Yeah. And then when you have a warehouse that's 360,000 square feet, it takes a while.
Yeah, that's a lot of square footage.
That's square footage. And then you've got to make sure that, you got to keep the business running too.
Right.
In a situation like you said, where somebody has a friend or an acquaintance who had COVID-19, how do you go about, do you take any precautions with if somebody on campus was in contact with the person who knows somebody? Do you have to go through like contact tracing like that, or?
We haven't done contract tracing. We're leaving that up to the government agencies and the health department and so on and so forth. We have, let's say, 3 different categories of cleaning that we have. Is, one is just somebody knows somebody, and then the other one is if somebody works there that they've been diagnosed with, having it, or if somebody does have it and they've been at work while they had it, then that's a level 3 cleaning that it's fully disinfected, and they come in with sprayers and everything else and clean that area. But again, we got to get them clean so that people can come to work next day.
When it comes to the cleaning, I know you said that obviously that you have the day staff and then you have the night. Have you shifted more responsibilities to the day since I'm assuming maybe you have more people during the day than you have had in the past? Or have you kept sort of the cleaning cadence and responsibilities the same?
The cleaning responsibilities have pretty much stayed the same. We've always done our evening cleaning. The only thing that we've added, like I said earlier, were the staff members from A&A that came in and do all the high-touch cleaning on a continuous basis. So there's always somebody cleaning at the facility.
And that, obviously we're all doing this to protect one another, but also just that visual makes you feel better when you're at the facility. You see people doing these things, you see people with masks, you see the temperature being taken. It puts us at ease. We're hoping that it's certainly greatly reducing the ability to get these diseases, but it's certainly nice to just have that visual.
Well, I think that's a big factor there too. It's a comfort feeling that people have. You don't want them coming to work and saying, well, Honda's not doing anything and they're not trying to protect us. And we're trying to protect our associates and contractors, temporary visitors, whatever it might be, as much as possible.
So, we look at the bird flu and things, whatever, you guys were prepared, you had things in place. Do you think now at this point, and I know you're sort of at your final stages of your career, but as you see you sort of handing the baton off, do you think that this pandemic will forever change facilities? Do you think it's going to be for an amount of time? What's your thought on that?
Well, I think that one of the things is, I think in designing of facilities, in the past, they've been, the ASHRAE says 15% outside air. And in a lot of cases, that's all you get, depending on the type of units you have and so on and so forth. And now, the CDC has come out and saying as much air as possible. And when you have a large building, you can bring in as much air as possible, but all the air that comes in has to go out. So then you've got a balancing problem. So, a lot of the systems aren't designed to handle large volumes of fresh air like that. So I think in the future, you're going to see building designs with more variable ability to bring in and to exit fresh air.
Yeah, I think that has been standing out to people. Most people aren't aware of how these big systems work, and they're thinking they're always breathing fresh air probably. And now that this is coming to light, like the general person who's now getting a crash course in commercial real estate and cleaning processes, they're learning a lot about this. And maybe saying, hey, shouldn't we be breathing fresh air all the time? Why weren't we disinfecting like at this level all the time? You know, I think that we're all becoming experts, like by
Right.
the, you know.
Well, fresh air used to be an energy issue.
Right.
Bring in much fresh air, 15%, but it's going to increase your energy, you know, so on and so forth. And now that they're saying, you know, if you can bring in 100% of outside air, you can do that. But depending on what part of the country you're in, you could be bringing in 100-degree outside air in the middle of the summer. Well, you got to cool that. Or in the wintertime, you got to heat it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, balance your building.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's, it's going to be interesting what impacts we see. And I'm certain that there's going to be a lot of innovations in all different aspects of what we do. It feels like this, you know, it certainly feels like what we're going through is a generational thing. This is going to last, feels like it's going to last a lifetime. Can't wait till it's over. But I guess from a business perspective, I guess just recapping, you guys never closed. You're an essential business, but the business units reduced if they could. You know, you don't have to come to work or stay at home and work from home. So you never really had to deal with that sort of reentry thing. But do you think that any of these spikes that we're seeing in different states, and even California now I'm hearing is spiking, is that changing anything internally, or just everything's still good to go, how you guys are set up?
Well, everything's still good to go, but what they've done is we started trying to bring back more people as much as possible. And now that especially here in California, we've had this shutdown again, that we're asking few of the people to, you know, continue working from home. And I know that there's other manufacturers and distributors that have found that they're getting more work out of people being from home than they are if they come into the office. So they've actually mandated now that some of their employees will permanently be working from home even when this thing's over. And that's new challenges for facility people.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of the big tech companies, almost all of them, I think they just said, don't come back to work, where everybody works from home throughout the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're certainly changing the way we are living, and the ripple effect is going to continue. Well, Garth, Mario, do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, there was one question I wanted to ask, but it's more of just projecting into the future. Is right now you're implementing a lot of cleaning processes, like the high touch point cleaning every 2 hours and the evening cleaning and all the disinfecting processes. Do you think that this is, even hopefully in an amazing scenario where COVID, all the spikes dip down and there's no more shutdowns, do you see this being almost a permanent fixture in the facility maintenance space? Maybe not at that frequency, but do you see now that there's going to be an added value in disinfecting, sanitizing?
I think so. I think it will continue. I don't think it's going to continue to the level that we're at right now. But I think as we go forward, I think that the janitorial companies, A&A Maintenance, has learned a lot and has put in a lot of best practices. And I think that those best practices will start carrying over to regular cleanings as they go. They can become more efficient and do things a little bit different. And I think in a way, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Garth, in closing, since this is coming to an end, if there's any young wanting facility managers or assistants wanting to follow your footsteps and be able to, oversee such a large facility and have such a long career, do you have any simple words of advice to follow as they're on their journey?
Well, I think in all aspects that the first thing is you treat your vendors as partners, and it'll come back to you tenfold. The other thing is I am a member of the International Facility Managers Association and past president for 3 years. And networking is very, very critical in figuring out what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. You're not the person that knows everything, but you get enough people in doing the same thing, somebody knows it. And actually, we've used A&A maintenance for several years, quite a few years actually. And I got introduced to them through networking and through IFMA. So,
Well, those are very solid pieces of advice, Garth. I want to thank you again for your time. Really great information. Appreciate what you're doing out there to keep employees healthy and keep Hondas driving. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
well, we appreciate it, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Garth.
All right, you guys take care now.
Take care.